Imagine a world where the very people who once fought for freedom and equality have become the new gatekeepers, blocking the same progress they once championed. Today, as the Global South and BRICS nations push for economic breakthroughs, they're echoing the old revolutions of Europe, but with a twist. The question is, can they avoid the traps that ensnared the West, or are they destined to repeat history? Let's rewind. What if the real story of capitalism isn't about prosperity for all, but about broken promises and a system that keeps most people on the outside looking in? Back in the 18th and 19th centuries, Europe erupted in revolution. The banners read liberty, equality, fraternity, and across the Atlantic, democracy joined the chorus. The revolutionaries meant it. They believed that, by toppling feudal lords and replacing them with employers, society would finally deliver on those grand ideals. But as Karl Marx observed, the dream didn't pan out. Despite sincere intentions, the new order, capitalism, couldn't deliver liberty or equality. Why? Marx argued that capitalism preserved the same old hierarchy. A small elite at the top, a vast majority at the bottom. Whether it was lord and serf, master and slave, or employer and employee, the pattern stayed the same. The system's very structure blocked the fulfillment of its own promises. Marx's insight was radical. If you want true liberty, equality, and democracy, you have to move beyond capitalism itself. The employer-employee divide is just a new version of the old feudal split. Unless you break that cycle, the same inequalities will keep resurfacing no matter how many revolutions you have. But what if the real villains aren't just the capitalists? What if there are other players quietly siphoning off society's wealth? Landlords, monopolists, and bankers, whose power rivals that of the old aristocrats. Classical economists like Adam Smith and David Ricardo saw this clearly. They realized that landlords, monopolists, and bankers were extracting economic rent, unearned income, from the productive economy. Landlords charged rent for land they didn't create, monopolists jacked up prices beyond costs, and bankers collected interest without contributing to production. All these groups drained resources that could have gone into real economic development. The industrial revolutionaries wanted to sweep away these parasites. They argued that rent should be taxed, not labor or industry. But as long as landlords controlled governments, they dodged taxes and forced workers and businesses to pay the bill. The result? High costs, stunted growth, and a system rigged in favor of the few. The classical solution was simple but powerful. Tax away the unearned income, land rent, monopoly profits, and interest, and use it to fund public goods. By doing so, you free up resources for real production, lower the cost of living, and make the economy more competitive. This was the original vision of a free market, not free for rent seekers, but free from them. Fast forward to today, the BRICS and Global South face the same challenge. Can they escape the fate of the West? Or will foreign investors and local oligarchs become their new feudal lords? In many BRICS countries, foreign investors play the same role as Europe's old aristocracy, grabbing control of natural resources and extracting rents. Western powers, who once fought to eliminate economic rent at home, turned around and imposed it on their colonies. The pattern repeats. Wealth flows out, development stalls, and inequality persists. But there's a twist. Some countries, like China, have learned from history. By keeping banking public and using credit to fund real investment, not speculation, they've managed to lift hundreds of millions out of poverty in a single generation. China's exclusion from the Western system forced it to chart its own course, limiting the outflow of wealth and focusing on domestic development. The result? Decades of growth far outpacing the West. The lesson for the BRICS is clear. Control your own resources, tax unearned income, and use public banking to finance infrastructure and industry. Don't let foreign or domestic oligarchs siphon off your wealth. Instead, invest in education, health, and productivity, the very things that drive real prosperity. So where does this leave us? The story of capitalism is a tale of promise and betrayal, of revolutions that swapped one elite for another. The West's failure wasn't just about greed, it was about allowing unproductive classes to hijack the system. The BRICS and Global South now stand at a crossroads. Will they build economies that serve their people, or will they let history repeat itself? As Marx, Adam Smith, and the classical economists all warned, the real enemy isn't competition or innovation. It's the rent seekers who profit while others produce. The path forward isn't easy, but the blueprint is there. Tax away the unearned, invest in the public good, and never let the parasites take over. Only then can the promises of liberty, equality, and democracy finally be fulfilled, not just for a privileged few, but for everyone.